Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Kathy Reign 2 Soothsayer. And I'm really glad you guys enjoyed the first episode of the series. As we began our adventure, we see that things are not particularly rosy for Kathy in this sequel. She's going through some financial hardships. It seems the only thing she can afford is tequila and cat food. And she's about to lose her detective business, and Eileen isn't even with her. So I'm very curious why that partnership went sour. Hopefully we find out soon. But there is hope. From a very dark place, because a famous author named Deborah Sinclair has been murdered by a serial killer known as the Soothsayer, and now Kathy is on the trail. So we're here at the library looking up information on some of Deborah's books and anything else that we can find. So let us continue on here.
Anything I print should appear here. I think that includes printouts from that microfilm viewer at the end of the hall.
And this is where we're going to get some more intel on the Soothsayer's other victims, because I believe Deborah was the fifth.
Some antique world map, centered on the US. 1800s, maybe? Okay, let's see here. It would take ages to look through all the microfilms since the killings began, so maybe I can figure out on what date the murder prior to Deborah's occurred. Hopefully I can deduce the date of the previous murder from the articles I picked up at the office. When I have a good date written down, I can view the corresponding microfilm and look for useful information.
Okay, good call. So, microfilm shelves, the microfilm viewer. Let's go ahead and look at that article again. Yet another Soothsayer victim. Five victims in 3 months. So that's something at least. So it's May 11th. Let's keep looking. Previous victim Jane Doe was slain on the publication anniversary of Storm Chaser. Okay. So let's go ahead and look up Storm Chaser. Deborah Sinclair, 425. April 25th.
All right, I've got a date written down. I can use that to find the corresponding microfilm.
Good.
Yeah, this date should be good. I'll search through a week or so of microfilm, starting from the date I've written down. Hopefully I can find some useful information on the previous victim.
I've never actually used a microfilm viewer. My mom used to, though.
Yes, there we go. I'll have these printed.
Oh, I actually wanted to look through the microfilm viewer. Oh well.
All right, rinse and repeat. I should try to determine the previous microfilm date based on the information in these new pages. That way I can make my way back from article to article, victim to victim, until I get all the way to the first murder. Let's see here.
Soothsayer burns Jane Doe alive. Good God. The infamous Soothsayer has cranked up the heat on his killing spree, as the latest victim, a young woman in her early 20s, was determined to have been brutally burned alive on Constance Hill. The death occurred on the night of April 25th. Due to the state of the remains, Jane Doe's identity has been difficult to ascertain. Despite indications of dental work on the corpse, there were no matching dental records anywhere in the city, leading police to believe that the woman was not a local. The lack of a struggle could mean that the victim was incapacitated, but the condition of the body gives little clarity on that matter. Picking a public site like this was a risky proposition for the Soothsayer, but he may have banked on the fact that distant witnesses would assume that the fire came from the nearby fire pit. Mayor Adams offered his comment. As unpleasant as it is, I must ask you to be patient. Let Ed, Cassidy Chief of Police Edgar Mitchell Brown, and his team do their job. KBD has my full confidence in this matter, and City Hall stands vigilant to assist in any way we can. For our extensive coverage of the previous victim, Deacon Townsend, see issue 842. Okay, Deacon Townsend. The Soothsayer has claimed a fourth victim, an identified woman estimated to have been 18 years old. Her charred remains were found on the outskirts of Cassidy, near the overlook at Constance Hill. The cause of death is yet to be determined. The Soothsayer victims do not seem to share any obvious similarities in terms of gender, age, occupation, or social class, and the killing methods, locations, and disposal of the bodies are all different. However, the killings have all occurred within the greater Cassidy area over a period of 3 months, which would indicate that the Soothsayer is somewhat local to the area. In related news, the Cassidy Chief of Police has recently announced that the investigation of these killings will be taken over by the newly created Soothsayer Task Force. Edgar Mitchell Brown said the following during a press conference on April 26th. As of May 1st, so-called Soothsayer slayings will be investigated by a dedicated task force of 8 senior detectives, handpicked from various divisions of the Cassidy Police Department. Rest assured that this elite group has every resource at their disposal. When asked whether or not the FBI would be involved, Mitchell Brown replied, "There's no federal jurisdiction in this case. I have no further comment. We'll take it. The Gazette has frequently criticized the Cassidy Police Department for their errors in the past, but credit where credit is due. This is a step in the right direction." Attention, a town hall meeting over amusement park revival. Father was one of the fatal victims of the infamous 1992 accident attempting to storm the stage. Okay. But we need to look at issue 842. St. Andrew's Church Easter tragedy ended in horror when conductor Martin Schultz suffered a fatal heart attack. The concert, a cherished tradition, was attended by many who are now mourning Schultz's untimely passing. That's a shame. Dirt race extravaganza imminent. Okay.
I know where Constance Hill is, but that's a fair distance from the city. Better save it for tomorrow. For now, I'll put Jane Doe on hold and see what I can find about the previous murder victim. Microfilms containing images of scanned newspapers. They're organized by calendar date.
Oh, I see. So, if this is issue 845, then that's Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, Sunday. Okay, so if it's April 29th... give that a go.
Worth a shot? Rats. I was hoping to find issue number 842 here. I guess the Sun is not a daily paper. Oh, and Jane Doe died on April 25th to boot, didn't she? That's the day before this. Seems unlikely that the murders were that close.
Okay. So... wait, let me look at the other issue here. Oh, it's a Wednesday. Okay, so if these are Wednesday editions, let's assume that for right now. So it would be 3 weeks previous. 845, 845, 844, 843.
Yes, this should be the right date. Let's see here.
Okay.
Okay, let's have a look.
Soothsayer stages suicide, a prolific deacon. We're sad to report that a third member of our community has been taken out by the so-called Soothsayer, who appears to be Cassidy's first serial killer. The victim's name was Benedict Townsend, aged 51. Our sources say that his death occurred on April 3rd and that Townsend was likely murdered in a staged suicide by hanging. Townsend served as deacon at the Kings of Kings Catholic Church, an old congregation dating back to the early 1900s. He was a beloved figure in the community, well known for his voluntary work. Reverend Hugh Winters, the pastor of the King of Kings, had the following to say: "My heart aches for Ben's soul and everything he had left to give to the world, but I take some comfort in the fact that he's with the Lord now. And for the person, or persons who did this to my friend, know that there will be a reckoning. Murder is a sin most vile, and God sees all." The King of Kings remains open as the crime occurring in the adjacent rectory building. However, the rectory will remain under lock and key until properly consecrated. Debate over reviving the Lone Star. Change of ownership. Deborah Sinclair book set for Hollywood adaptation. Thorns of the Wild is slated for a movie adaptation. It's about time. Hollywood hasn't been quick to recognize the cinematic potential of my work, and I sincerely hope this marks the beginning of a great collaboration. And to my fans out there, rest assured that I will retain full creative control. I won't let anyone ruin my babies. Chief of Police phone hacked. Hijacked the phone line and prank called the Chief of Police last week, shouting obscenities and sexual innuendos. Police raid on the Cybershack Internet Cafe last month. Wade Industries opens new factory amid controversy. Backroom deals. Okay. Soothsayer linked to 3 murders. Serial killer on the loose. 3 killings in 2 months connected by foreboding signature. Deacon Benedict Townsend, age 51, was found dead early on April 4th in the rectory of the King's Catholic Church. Cause of death was determined to be hanging, but suicide has been ruled out by the KPD. An honest police source had the following to say: "Somebody else was involved. The positioning of the body and the other logistics don't add up if he was alone." The scenario is eerily similar to that of Eric Holloway, the postman who met his demise on that ominous full moon night last month. His death was initially treated as a suicide, but later revised to homicide. Now the Gazette brings you the exclusive scoop. Both of these killings, as well as the brutal stabbing of Nurse Rose Taylor back in February, are linked by an object left at the scene, a shattered obsidian mirror, colloquially referred to as a scrying mirror. These mirrors have been used since ancient times to see the future or communicate with the spirit world. Does the soothsayer responsible for these murders have a religious motive? Our source continues, "It's a signature. This killer is no hack. He hasn't left any other forensic evidence that can be traced back to him, so the mirror has to be deliberate." Townsend was a well-liked figure in the community, known for his charity work and a longtime member of the church. Cassidy Chief of Police Edgar Mitchell Brown gave the following comment: "We're not classifying these homicides as serial offenses at this time, but trust that we have our finest on the case. We urge our readers to demand that Mitchell Brown recognizes that the citizens of Cassidy have been cursed with our first serial killer in recorded history." Fringilla, a play born in the heart of our city, has captured the nation's attention. Written by playwright Cassandra Beckett. Okay. So, we got Benedict Townsend and a scrying mirror. King of Kings.
Okay, I'll make sure to look into that church later and maybe find the address. For now, let's move on to victim number 2.
So we look for the full moon in March.
I'm on the right track with this date, but I think I've got the full moon and the new moon confused.
Oh, did I? I did, didn't I? Whoops.
Yes, this should be the right date. Let's see here.
At least they tell you that. Prominent suicide morphs into homicide. Initially reported as a suicide, the death of Eric Holloway on March 12th is officially reclassified by the KPD as a homicide. Since his public death occurred, multiple reliable witnesses have come forward claiming that the victim was pushed off the roof at the building at 4 Verdon Street. However, there are no detailed descriptions of the perpetrator, likely due to the limited illumination of the roof area at night. Holloway led a quiet and simple life, working as a mailman for the city, and said to have been well liked by his peers. However, there are unverified reports of mental health problems related to the death of his fiancée last year. Police sources told us that there are links to the brutal motel stabbing of Nurse Rose Taylor on Statehood Day but were reluctant to share further details of an ongoing investigation. Symphony in the Streets, a creative protest for classical arts. Oh, the police raid from the Cyber Shack. Well, you know. Fusion on 5th. Okay. Grimfall under the full moon. On Thursday, March 12th at roughly 8 p.m., a 32-year-old man leapt from the roof of a 4-story apartment building at Verdon Street, instantly killing himself on the pavement below, making a grisly spectacle for neighbors and bystanders alike. Friends and neighbors claimed that the victim had struggled with the death of his girlfriend, but no suicide note had been recovered. Events like this reiterate that mental health and grief counseling should be a national concern, with more resources available for vulnerable people in crisis. If you know anyone to have suicidal thoughts, you can reach the National Suicide Hotline as 555-922-922, available 24/7. Wade Empire heiress takes over Wade Industries. Okay, I'm just gonna give you guys a chance to read that if you would like. Eric Holloway.
Eric's address isn't too far away, but I should learn all I can here before I visit any of the crime scenes. Coming up last, the very first victim of the Soothsayer.
Let me go look for Statehood Day.
Yes, this should be the right date. Let's see here.
Satanist responsible for motel slaughter. Ooh, that sets a tone. A brutal stabbing occurred at the Azure Sky Motel on February 5th, and our sources now say that there is an occult angle to the killing, with some sort of artifact left on the scene. The husband of the victim was briefly detained but released a day later. Law enforcement claims that he remains a person of interest, however, and confirmed that the cause of death was multiple stab wounds to the chest. KPD adds a new canine unit. Classic versus modern. Union leader ousted amid mafia allegations. View from outside the Azure Sky Motel. Deborah Sinclair book signing, a big success. Deborah Sinclair saw a massive turnout at her recent book signing event where fans lined up for hours to get a few brief moments with the popular author. Sinclair's recent novel Midnight and Me has captured the hearts of readers nationwide, and the event held at Cassidy's legendary bookstore, Pages and Tales, not only highlighted Sinclair's rising popularity, but underscored the city's growing literary scene. The Dreamers Express. Okay. On February 7th, Rose Amanda Taylor, age 47, was found dead by Robert Tippett, the owner of the Azure Sky Motel. Taylor had been stabbed to death by an unknown perpetrator. Blood everywhere, like a goddamned butcher room, Tippett says, wide-eyed, and continues to emphasize that his city's going to hell. You go ahead and print that. Neighbors report hearing a commotion from the room, but there was apparently a regular occurrence, so no one went to investigate. Taylor is survived by her husband and 2 children, who have declined a request to be interviewed. The husband was briefly detained, but is no longer considered a suspect. Do you have any information about the murder of the Rose Taylor? Okay, Cassidy Police Department. So we have 2 stabbings, a pushing.
All right, that should be everything on the microfilms. I think I'll continue to focus on gathering information today and then head to each of the murder sites tomorrow.
Collect all the news. If you need help with what to do next, try opening your notebook and query your active tasks. I heard that like one of the sites was actually fairly close by.
I think I'll look into that church next, the King of Kings. There was no mention of an address for it in the newspapers.
Okay.
The Azure Sky Motel is the location of the first Soothsayer killing, the stabbing of Rose Taylor. The Catmobile is running on fumes, so I should give this place a call rather than head over. I'll need a number first, though. The King of Kings is a Catholic church here in the city. The adjacent rectory was where the third Soothsayer victim, Deacon Townsend, was killed. I'm not sure where exactly this church is, but I should be able to find out.
Benedict Townsend, Jane Doe. Let's see. Maybe talk to the librarian first.
One more thing.
Yes?
Do you know anything about the King of Kings Catholic Church?
I'm not familiar with that church, sorry.
Okay.
Thanks. I'll come back if I have more questions.
Very well. Good luck.
Oh, you know what we could probably do? Let's go to the yellow pages. And then we can probably look it up there. Go back to the office. Oh, look at all that. Oh, and a different car was behind her. That's cool.
Great. I've got the address to the church. I'll head over there tomorrow.
Cool.
I think it's time to see what I can find about the Azure Sky Motel. It's likely in this phone book here. Got the number. I'll call first and see if a visit makes sense. God knows I have to be careful with those last drops of gas left in the bike.
Too bad it doesn't run on tequila.
Thank you for calling the Azure Sky Motel, your oasis in Cassidy. How may I help you?
Hi there. This is Kathy Rain from Rain Investigations. I have some questions.
All right, then.
Okay. And Rose was the person who was killed there.
What can you tell me about your motel?
The Azure Sky is a long-time family business. We've been serving tenants faithfully for over 40 years now.
Oh, wow, quite a while. So, how many tenants do you have?
We don't keep records of the number of tenants, but we have 50 rooms of varied sizes. We're about 3/4 full, but expecting to be fully booked during tourist season in the summer.
Wait, tourists actually come to Cassidy? Somebody deserves a raise for one hell of a marketing campaign.
No patriot of the community, huh? That's a shame. This city has a lot more to offer than people like you give it credit for.
To each their own, I guess.
And
So, I hear that one of your tenants was murdered back in February? Rose Taylor.
No shit. Here I thought the boys in blue ransacked this whole place just for shits and giggles.
That happens more often than you'd think. Come on, man. Help a girl out.
Sorry for the attitude, but you know you're the umpteenth person to ask about that, right?
I get that, so how about we stick with the short version?
Fine. No, I don't know anything that isn't in the papers. No, you can't see the room. It's rented out. And even if you did go in there, there's nothing that the cops or cleaners haven't removed since friggin' February.
Understood. So what about the next of kin? She had a husband, right?
Yeah, he came by later to pick up the personal effects. I just met the guy for a few minutes.
Did you catch his name?
I did, but I don't think he'd appreciate me giving out his name to some random lady on the phone. No offense.
I am a bit offended, actually. I'm not some random lady. I'm a licensed private investigator, and a renowned one at that. Ever hear of the Whitmore affair?
That does sound familiar.
Well, that was me. Now, here's a friendly piece of advice. Choose the path of least resistance. I can be a much bigger pain in the ass than this Mr. Taylor, believe me.
All right, fine. It's Orson. Orson Taylor.
Orson.
That wasn't so hard, was it? Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
The only person I've ever been aware named Orson was from the U.S. Acres cartoon on Garfield and Friends.
Do you know anything about scrying mirrors?
Only that our psycho killer enjoys breaking them around his victims, but I have no interest in understanding a nut like that.
What do you know about the Soothsayer?
I know more than I'd like to. I could have gone without a close view of his handiwork, that's for sure.
I can imagine. A brutal stabbing, I take it?
No offense, but I'd rather not go over that again. It's all in the papers, if you're so dead set on getting all the gory details.
Well, she didn't take offense at that. That's nice.
What can you tell me about Orson Taylor, Rose's husband?
Nothing much. Like I said, I only saw the guy once, a week or so after the murder.
Okay. How do you seem?
Like you'd expect. Messed up. Couple of kids, too. Breaks my heart, truth be told.
So, if Rose was married and had 2 children, what was she doing in your motel?
Now that's the million-dollar question, ain't it? You'll get no answer from me, even if I could keep track of all of our tenants. I don't make a habit of sticking my nose in their personal affairs.
Huh. Was she a regular then?
Not really, just a couple of bookings in January and February. Look, I think I've said enough. Any other questions? We need to wrap this up. I've got calls on the other line.
I think that's pretty good, all things considered. What does this do? Oh, we can ask about things around? That's cool. Ask about certificate, ask about okay, I think we're good there.
That's all, thanks.
You're welcome. Have a great day now.
You too. Okay.
All right, found the husband's number. Here's hoping he's willing to talk to me.
Oh, this is gonna go well. You just know it is.
Doing that once was enough.
Ring, ring, ring.
You've reached the Taylors. No one's home right now, but if you leave your details after the beep, I'll get back to you.
Hi, Mr. Taylor. This is Kathy Rain, private investigator. I was wondering if I could ask you some questions. You can reach me at 555-142-062. Thanks in advance. Bye. I think I followed up on what I can today for each of the different victims. Just one thing left to do. I noticed that the Gazette had the best coverage of the Soothsayer out of all the city papers. I think it's time to pay a dear old friend a visit.
New location added. Okay. Wait. No. Gotta go back. You have to go back. There was a mistake. We forgot to give proper deference and give tribute.
Plotting world domination as usual, Mildred?
Please forgive us.
I better get those pets in then.
Alright, now we can leave. We are running on fumes. I think most of us know that, like, oh, it's the, it's hit the E on the gas gauge. Alright guys, I think this is a great place to go ahead and call it, but when we get back we'll head to the Gazette, and see if we can get some more information, clear the day out, and then start traveling to all of these locations. But I hope you all have enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help, and we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.